I just listened to this 25-minute monologue of Sam Harris talking about RFK Jr. and I do want to recommend this audio, this video, those 25 minutes before listening to any podcast or interview with RFK, because I do think it's very useful to have a very well put together perspective of Sam Harris that goes against the perspective of people who invite RFK and want to talk with him, like the amazing Lex Fridman, Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, etc. And we're gonna see some of the comments on this video, but in a nutshell, my understanding of Sam Harris's statement is that it contains two things, okay? One is an opinion and the other is some facts. So Sam Harris's opinion is that people shouldn't give RFK a platform, and the reason, the facts, is that it has been proven time and time again that he talks very confidently about things that are false, things that are wrong, and there's so many of them that it would be impossible to fact check him in real time. And because he has been guilty of so many inaccuracies, regardless of whether they are deliberate, they're lies that he says consciously, or maybe he actually just believes the things that have been debunked, either way, according to Sam Harris, the indisputable fact that RFK keeps spreading misinformation leads to the conclusion that it might do more damage than good to have a good faith conversation with him. Now, I personally don't know enough to agree or disagree with that. I do think that the fact that RFK Jr. is a political candidate that has a big following calls for interviewing him and scrutinizing, and if I am to have an opinion, it would be that Sam Harris says it's too much work to fact check him, so don't bother inviting him. I would say because RFK Jr. is very important for some people, even if it is too much work to fact check him, find a way to do it, even if it's a headache. So an example would be hire an intern, hire a scientist to go through as many statements that have been disproved as possible and create a database and have a real-time feedback on your screen. If he says something and it has been disproved, you can kindly challenge him on the spot. So basically, come on guys, you have incredibly big platforms. You can afford to spend more time and money to be prepared to have a podcast with RFK. So that's my personal opinions. So I would disagree with the conclusion of Sam Harris, but if I believe the plentiful examples of misinformation that have been clearly established, and because I happen to be a scientist and understand how dangerous, for example, being a fanatic anti-vaxxer can be, I do vouch most of the factual information of this video, of this speech. And I do recommend it to everybody who listens to podcasts and interviews with RFK, just to having a heavy criticism from a very well-educated, well-versed and informed person who Sam Harris is. Now let's have a look at some comments. I did make a comment, very useful primer to all the interviews RFK Jr. has recently given. Many thanks for the reality check. Another person who agrees with me, I think this is one of the episodes that should be made available in their entirety as public service announcements. Even RFK Jr. should welcome that. I don't know if he would. Now, Jake Tapper. This is where a lot of comments, a lot of ignorant, furious comments use a straw man. So Sam Harris gave an example of where RFK Jr. blatantly lied about Jake Tapper, and apparently Jake Tapper is guilty of some propaganda. But guess what? It doesn't matter. Even if Jake Tapper is the worst criminal in the world, Sam Harris didn't say anything about Jake Tapper himself. He said about how RFK Jr. lied in a circumstance that involved Jake Tapper. So if I start lying about Hitler, if I say the Second World War lasted 100 years and killed 2 billion people, and you call me out and say, hey Anthony, you lied about the Second World War. It killed much less than 2 billion people and it lasted much less than 100 years. Does that mean that you are pro-Nazi, pro-Hitler, pro-Second World War? No, it just means that I lied. So as you can see from the search, there is at least 10 comments that use this stupid statement, deciding whether or not I want to trust Jake Tapper or RFK Jr. So this or is completely fabricated. Nobody said Sam Harris didn't, at least you should trust Jake Tapper, doesn't mean that one of them is right and the other is wrong. You can lie about a liar and you're still a liar. Look, trusting Jake Tapper over RFK, nobody said that. So, that aside, I haven't found any good factual criticism, argument against Sam Harris. I made one in the beginning. I would say do the hard work that you say it's too much work to debate him or to interview him. It may be very annoying, but somebody should do it, and you already did a part of it to make this video. Other than that, there is a lot of supportive comments, there is a lot of furiously negative comments. I do think this episode is useful regardless of whether a good episode with the arguments exists, because when you have someone as a guest, you don't want to fry them with all these allegations of spreading misinformation and bullshit, because it's not a nice thing to do face to face. Nonetheless, they should exist for the public to hear and understand, because RFK Jr. is a politician and he needs the trust of people, and it seems like this is a person that we cannot trust, or at least I cannot trust. If he says 10 things, I don't know how many of them are to trust and how many of them are misinformation. There are a lot of bitter and very offensive comments. This is a funny comment. Sam calls RFK Jr. a liar while telling several untruths in this podcast. Well, which one? And why don't you call them lies? RFK Jr., on the other hand, does not call people like Sam Harris liars, but says they simply interpret facts differently and disagree. Yes, because interpreting facts differently and disagreeing is not lying. I would argue that Sam Harris does not lie, whereas RFK Jr. has been proven to lie. That is why Sam can call RFK Jr. a liar, but RFK Jr. cannot call Sam Harris a liar, and neither the person who wrote this comment can. That's why he used untruths, whatever that means. This tells you everything you need to know about the difference in honesty and moral character of those two men. No! If I am certain that you lie, I'm gonna call you a liar. That says nothing about me. I may be a liar or not, and independently, I can assess whether you are a liar or not. Look at this beautiful comment below. Thank you for this perspective. I am feeling very aligned with RFK Jr. and I am always seeking better and further understanding. This is the attitude. This is the attitude, man. The people who support RFK Jr. should listen to this Kool-Aid piece of content, because I can support someone and that person maybe didn't change the fact that she, Natalie, supports him, but she was informed, hey, I was thinking he's like a god of credibility. No, he's not. But I still prefer him over other politicians. But he's not as credible as I thought he was. So, maybe I cannot trust him in all issues, even if I still support him. But yeah, that was my video. So, again, I recommend everybody who listens to RFK Jr. to listen to Sam Harris, because he's a voice of sanity. I wish Sam Harris's opinion and prompt would be to actually invest on a very extensive scrutiny and have real-time assistance in fact-checking RFK Jr. and then have an interview that way, because it is possible. We live in the era of the internet. You can set it up in a week, maybe a few days. Just have this system set up, and you don't have to hide it. And maybe he will not want to talk with you. But if you say, hey, I would like to talk with you, but I hope both of us want people to be informed, and I'm not gonna have any personal attacks, but if something you say, we are very confident that it is factually incorrect, we may want to let the audience know and invite them to the sources and make their own conclusions. And we actually invested the time and effort and the technology to real-time fact-check you, because it is possible to real-time fact-check someone today. And if some believes that this is something that should happen with RFK Jr., then somebody who RFK Jr. is willing to have an interview with should do it. And maybe that someone would be Sam Harris himself. Why not? That's my opinion. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!